I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like I'd never done time code, and her whole show was like time coded, and so like there was a whole lot to learn in like one day. But
I'm Sean Bowes, concert visual designer in Los Angeles, California. Today, we're talking to the man, the myth, the legend, JollyJosh. Jolly is a touring VJ based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You've seen his work on tours and festival stages around the world with artists like BLUNTS and BLUNTS, Wooli, ACRAZE, Kayzo. Most recently wrapped up a tour with Machine Gun Kelly. You've probably seen him going off in front of house. He's got the fastest fingers in the game, a very energetic presence when he's performing. I'm really stoked to talk to him. JollyJosh, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Hell yeah, man.
Exciting.
Really excited to talk to you. We worked together a couple times. It's been a really good time. But I want to go rewind back to the beginning. Can you describe for us the moment that set you on this path of doing visuals as a career?
Yeah, totally. Well, at first, like my family's always been in music. And so I think I went on like my first tour bus when I was like 12. And I've always just kind of been surrounded by it. And I wasn't working visuals at the time, but I just like was doing audio and lighting and just around the culture, I guess. And then when I graduated high school, I moved to Florida, Orlando, and linked up with ACRAZE and Enjoy and Alex Acklay. And I was like promoting, I guess. And I was just kind of like helping them out with events, and we were just having a good time. And the events were nothing crazy, but they were energetic. They were fun, but the venues were nothing like exciting as to what I'm doing now. But it was that was that starting point. And the biggest point, I guess, is that like this one venue called Rum Jungle in Orlando was like, we'd never really done anything that big, I guess. And the venue had like an LED wall, full PA, and no one knew how to use it. And ACRAZE was playing and they were headlining it. And this was in 2018. And I was like, well, I could probably figure it out. So I went and grabbed my MacBook out of my car and like Googled how to do it, and like ran the show on the demo, like Resolume watermark up and down the corners, and just like strove my life away. I was like, hey, this is sick, keyboard warrior over here. And then from there, I just like a couple months later, I started working at one of the nightclubs there, and then was on tour in like 5 months. Wow. And then just learned from there. Like I was on the Bear Grylls Freak Show tour, just like halfway through their tour, they came through Florida and were like, you want to just like come on the bus? And I was like, sure. Just went out and just helped Justin, their tech that was VJing at the time. Let him kind of just build a wall, and then I just kind of VJ'd. And then I just learned from there, and then just kind of took off, I guess.
Wow, that's a fucking amazing story. So, man, I want to dig into a few of these points a little bit more. So you said you're on your first tour bus at maybe 12 years old. So is your family like in the industry doing lighting and audio?
Yeah, my family, my mom was like a tour manager and like manager, and my dad was an artist. And so I was just enveloped into it early on, just with them, and I always kind of knew that this is what I was going to do. Like I had an idea of going into the military. Like both my parents were also in the military.
Okay.
So I had that plan, and my dad was kind of just like, look, like you should go to this school, Full Sail. And I ended up dropping out of Full Sail. Yeah, but that's besides the point. I went on tour and said, all right, this is it. This is all I want to do. But he wanted me to just like him giving me that just choice and like helping me out with college to go and do that. Kind of led to me meeting these people these people were obviously great creators. Like, hey, ACRAZE got Do It To It, biggest track ever right now. And so like those were the creatives that I was enveloped in, like right when I got into it. Like he had that vision for himself, and I had this vision for me, and I just kind of rode with it and like never looked back.
That's fucking cool. I mean, it's cool to just grow up around this. Like, I don't even think I really knew this was an option until like I was in college already, like studying some bullshit and like went to shows and eventually was like, wait a minute, like there's people putting this on. Like I could be one of those people. Oh shit, that would be cool.
And it's badass.
It's the funnest job in the world. But to be exposed to that at such a young age and have parents in the industry is really fucking cool. Definitely shows in how talented you are being so young. I'm really curious about this first gig. I guess your first gig was this Rum Jungle show where you just said, fuck it, I can wing it. I'll do it on the download the demo and just go for it. Have you always had that kind of like, fuck it, I can figure it out sort of attitude, or where do you think that came from? Did being around this environment help? Or
I've always just been like that. I don't know. I've always just I was like, I don't know. I don't know how half the stuff, honestly, like, I don't know how I do half the stuff I'm doing, like straight up. Like sometimes it just comes to me in the middle, like randomly. I'm like, oh, this is tight. Like, let's just start doing this. I don't know really how, like, I just kind of taught myself and just started like pushing buttons. And then I found like my rhythm and now it's like, now I have a very specific style. Like I am like my own like entity. It's not like I sit like with all the VJs, but like we all have our different styles, you know? And so it was like interesting to be able to kind of find that difference in myself and like find that art. Like it just in like, I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's just kind of like people come to me with tasks and I'm just like, yeah, I can do it. But sometimes I have no idea what they're even talking about, you know? But it's like, I mean, I'll figure it out. Like I figured out how to do this. Like I'll figure out how to do that, you know?
Yeah. And what do you do in those situations to figure things out? Like how have you learned how to do this? Is it just being on the road, being around it and kind of picking it up as you go? Or are there resources you recommend? You said you went to Full Sail for a little bit. Like what, how do you recommend people kind of get into this type of thing?
Just get Resolume. Get Resolume and like that's how I didn't look anything. I didn't even watch any of the tutorials on their website. I just like went on it and just like, oh, there's where you like edit the keyboard keys. And then I saw like the like highlighted points in Resolume and was like, all right, I'll press this key on this. And then whenever I press that key, it's going to do that. And then I just kind of like started playing with it. And that was the biggest thing, was me just playing with it, having no restrictions. Like I don't like ever sit on any guidelines. Like even like if I'm directing a show, like with Kels and like I have my director Pedro, but we'll roll up to these festivals and it's like they're getting like TV. They're like on TV. They got like TV broadcasts, and it's like, you know, there's all those directing rules, and I just never sat in that, like the rules of any of that. Like I'll break all the rules, but it's like it'll still look cool. And that's like that's my biggest point of like where I was able to find creativity in just VJ, like not even content creating, just VJing alone, is like I was able to find a creativity and not sit by any guidelines because no one taught me how to do it. I just kind of went and started doing it, and like now it's my full-time job. I'm still just like a kid in the candy store, like picking up effects and like, oh, this looks tight, let's do it. If it doesn't look good on the stage, then I don't do it again, you know? And it's like, I never really like structuralized myself as a VJ. And I think that's the biggest thing that, as I see like other VJs who are like trying to learn, they overthink it. You know, it's like, it's when you are overthinking it and you're psychoanalyzing yourself and like trying to think of what buttons to press or this and that. It's like, don't think about it. Just kind of like set up a couple strobes, like a couple of different effects, and line up 5 faders on 5 layers and put clips in it. And you can just drag them around and push buttons. And then you'll start to, as you do it every day or more and more, you can start to see like patterns that are cool. And it's like, when you're coming into a drop, like 4-bar buildup is like this sequence of buttons that you're going to press. And you have a different combination of stuff to go onto the drop after that. And I've always just kind of like, I'm just pressing buttons like musically, I guess. And it looks cool visually. Like, I don't know. Like, I still treat it like an instrument. I don't look at it like it's a bunch of visuals. I look at it like it's a drum set. And like, these are the notes that I'm hitting, and these are the paradiddles that I'm doing. These are the rudiments that I'm doing with my fingers to move. But it still sits on the same music theory structure as like an instrument.
Mm-hmm. Are you a musical person? Do you play any instruments?
Yeah, I used to play the drums. That was the first thing I started doing when I was like 6
nice.
or 7. My dad got me in. I was Drew from the percussionist for the Foo Fighters was actually my first drum teacher. And he was
no
like,
big deal.
Yeah, he was teaching, and like I think that like he kind of set the basis on like, because he was a percussionist as well as a drummer, but he set the basis of like rudiments and like your timing and like the different, like I forget what the word is. It's been a while. the just like timing and just like music theory and like my rudiments as a drummer. And now I suck at the drums because I haven't played them in ages, but I can VJ really good because I try and play the drums now as a VJ, and it doesn't make any sense because normally I'm VJing to the drummer, and now it's like I'm trying to create that, and I can't even. My brain doesn't process it anymore. Now, this is all I can do now. This is it. If it doesn't work, like,
man, yeah. I mean, you had some really good points there. There's really no better way to learn this stuff than to just try stuff and see what works. Like there's not really, it's so open format as far as like, you can use any controller you want. You can map that to your software any way that you want. And like everybody kind of does it a little bit differently. So there's no right way that anybody can tell you how to do any of this stuff. You just have to do it, try it, fuck it up, and keep what works over and over and over and over and over again until you're a fucking legend.
Yeah. And like maybe like some finger crunches, you know?
Yeah. I was
gotta get that fingers going, you know, gotta get them boys strong.
I was going to ask you about that. You have a really like fast, high energy approach to VJing. And I'm just curious, how did that develop for you? Is it just so much practice that you're in a flow state, or what?
I've had the same MIDI setup since the beginning. Like I've never, like I only run 8 effects, and then like I only press 8 buttons. So there's, or maybe like 12. So like there's 2 sets of strobes, and like those colors change depending on the artist. I do a white strobe, and then whatever the main color is for that artist. Like Kayzo's red, BLUNTS is green, and those are it, just white in that color. I don't add too much because then it creates too much for me to think about, and then it's less of me being like flowing. Like I'm not flowing as much because there's like when I see people with full buttons, like full MIDI keyboards, I'm just like, dude, y'all are fucking crazy. Like it's awesome, but like I'm just like I would fat finger a button, or like, because I'm just moving so fast, and it's like I just have them all structured to like, and then go back to the faders, and I can do it all without moving my hands, because I can move my faders with my thumbs, and it's just I've always had the same one. I've never changed it. And I've just added a couple things here and there, but I felt that if it works, don't like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's that is a cool strategy. I haven't dug into your setup too deep. Maybe one of these days we'll have to do a little setup tour or something.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
But you have a very like ergonomic and just straightforward, just the essentials kind of setup. So you only have what you need, and it's all right there for you. That's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah, fuck, that's cool. So let's go back a little bit. You kind of like, you're doing these shows, you're in the Florida scene, you just like get picked up by the Bear Grylls show, and you're like, fuck it, I'm on tour now. Let's go. Yeah. What was that like? Your first tour. What was that experience like for you? And
well, it was a bandwagon. So that was it wasn't a tour bus, it was a bandwagon bus. And like anyone who's kind of traveled knows the bandwagons are a little brutal sometimes. But I mean, I was 19 years old. I wasn't even old enough to drink, and I was drinking, and and that was cool. And but I don't know. It was just kind of surreal. Like, I don't even really like remember it. It happened so fast. It's like it was just like I remember Jason Hager and Justin Janone, the lighting and video guys that were on that Bear Grylls run, and those guys are legends. And in my eyes, I'm sure I would hope they'd be legends in everyone else's eyes too. But they introduced me to like the Reliquarium, and that's like a Burning Man. Like they do like Camp Question Mark, and like the like set design and like the big wooden structures and like the cool projection mapping and stuff. They kind of introduced me to that. And that was that moment right there was that moment where I was like, dang, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like this job is like I could really do some cool shit. Like I didn't even see like the broadness of like this career is like content creating is one thing, and the projection mapping shows and like art basel shows where it's just like art installation. It's like a VJ can do all of those things. It's not just like EDM concerts. And that, and like obviously like you can go into the rock concerts like I'll tell y'all with MGK, but it was I forgot what my point was. Don't smoke weed, kids.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a real like eye-opening experience that just kind of showed you a bit more of what was possible in this world.
Yeah.
And so you met some of the Reliquarium guys and things like that. Like what happened after that tour and that phase? How did this like turn into, you're doing this for life?
Yeah. So I'd met Cowboy, or not Cowboy. Cowboy's later on. That's Kayzo. But coming out of the Bear Grylls tour, I just had like Company and Phase One and all of them. They were really cool to me, and so they kind of introduced me to more EDM people, and just naturally met going to their shows. And so I just started calling them up and was like, "Hey, I knew 6 dubstep DJs doing this festival. Like, I'll just do all of you." And this was back before I knew about like the proper rates. Like before I knew anything, I was just like, "Hey, I could go out there. I could make like good money and pay for my flights and pay for my hotels and cover all that through a day rate from 6 different artists." And that was kind of like just what I did. I would just fly to these festivals and just kind of invite myself on, I guess. And be like, "Yo, I'll do everyone." Like, and then I just kept doing that. And there was points where I was like, I had like struggles with my housing and struggles with just like finances. But I'd figure it out. I'd drive myself up to the festival. I'd drive, I don't know, 12 hours to go and work a show and VJ for the people that would let me, and then go home. and then I got started to get hired on more full time as a VJ, like working with these artists, like multiple shows in a sequence. And that was when I met Cowboy, and Cowboy brought me into Kayzo. And then it was like, all right, I'm in the big leagues now. Cowboy's Kayzo's tour manager. Love that guy.
Hell yeah. I mean, that initiative of like, you worked with some people, you met some people along on this tour, and then just keep in touch with them, hit them up. Hey, I saw you and you are going to be on this show. Like, I'm planning to be on there. I'm planning on going anyway. Like, let me do visuals.
Mm-hmm. You know what? There's a big point in that whole timeline that I'm totally missing right now that I have to say, because it's crucial. But yeah, so like living in Florida and doing all these other festivals was, I started working with the Nitty Gritty crew. And so I was doing that. I went to EDC with them, and a guy named Warren hit me up, and he was working with an artist named Ducky. And he brought me in to work with her because Jason, the LD that was going to be doing her show, who was also the LD, brought me into MGK full circle. He was unavailable. And he was like, I know this kid, Josh, who's at EDC. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. Like I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like I'd never done time code, and her whole show was like time coded. And so like there was a whole lot to learn in like one day, but it was those 2 guys were one of the biggest turning points coming up before Cowboy. That they just gave me, like Jason gave me that opportunity through Warren, and I met Warren, and Warren's a legendary TM also. and they both just kind of like guided me in and just kind of helped me out, I guess. Like kept my head on straight and kept me going. And then I went to Kayzo from Cowboy. So and throughout all that, I was still doing the festivals, like 6 artists as much as I can, whatever I could do. And then I was just kind of getting like side gigs, like one fly date, like 2 or 3 fly dates a month, with these other artists through them, like more established kind of. And then I was kind of getting the lay of the land. And then I transitioned out of doing that, like the festivals, like just kind of going and like, just like slutting myself out to everyone. I kind of stopped doing that and started taking it a little bit more seriously. I started figuring out like how this is like a career, like how I want to survive. And then I had met Cowboy on the end of that. And then he brought me in on a call to come do Kayzo, and I was right before COVID. And then they took me to Taiwan, Thailand during COVID, the first VJ to do a show outside of the US during COVID, like international festival. Ended up getting hired to be the house VJ for Ultra Taiwan. Like that was crazy. I was out there quarantining, and the production manager calls me and he's just like, so like, I see you're here with Kayzo, like, you mind doing everyone else? And I'm just like, sick. Freaking COVID, everyone's broke during COVID. And I was like, dude, that is a whole gig. Like, and I could like make some money. And that was my first biggest paycheck ever.
Wow. Yeah, man. So I'm curious, what do you think you were doing at all these shows that you were, slutting yourself out for, that got you, called back or made you be remembered by somebody for another gig? Like, what are the things you're doing to stand out at that time?
I don't know why everyone wants to work with me all the time. No, I'm just kidding. I guess, like, I mean, I'm a very personable person. Like I get the job done, but like, I'm also like, I just like will hang out, I guess. And it was always kind of like, for me, like, I'll like be super serious coming in, and like once everything's working, it's like, all right, it's like I'll smile and like be just fun, like crack jokes, but like coming into it, it's like I'm always get everything working, and then I'll be fun, I guess. And I don't know, I guess like managers and stuff I'm like that. I don't know. And like my VJ style is, I don't even know if I that's just, I don't know. I don't even see it as anything extremely extraordinary, like show wise, but it's like, I feel like me, just like I'm a very personable person, has created that like space to be able to bond with the team and come in and just like, there's no weirdness, I guess. And I'm blessed with that, I guess. I just got lucky. My dad was a dope human, and he kind of shed that off on me, and I get to kind of be him, as I grow up. He passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh,
but
man.
I do this all really for him. And so I just kind of be as much as that version of my dad that I remember, and that has created these openings, I guess, for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really sorry to hear that, but I do hear over and over and over again that like that combination of getting shit done, but also being a cool guy to be around is like the winning formula.
Yeah.
Cause you can get shit done, but if you're an asshole while you're doing it, then like nobody really wants to work with you. And if you're just there to party, and have a good time, but your shit never works, and then you can't solve a problem or help.
Yeah, you have to be able to do all of them. You have to be able to get all your shit done, party, and be cool.
It's a tough life, man. Not everyone's cut out for it. For real, dog. Man.
That's funny.
It's tough. I mean, it really is though. Like it's I don't know. I don't do a lot of road stuff. I'll travel for a festival or something now and then, but like traveling all that much is tough.
Yeah.
And like, it's not a lifestyle for everybody.
And if you're not like like if you're not a happy person, like my name's Jolly, and like that was a big reason why I kept my name JollyJosh, because it's like kind of kept I have to keep my head on straight. You know, like I'll see myself getting angry, like especially on the tour bus and stuff. It's like stuck with the same people, you get irritated, like, and I'm like, I always have to remember coming into the next venue like 7, 8 in the morning. You're coming up to the new front of house people, and you're just like new stagehands, and you got to introduce yourself, and sometimes you're grumpy, you know. So I always have to remind myself that like my name is JollyJosh, so like I'll be like grumpy, I guess, sometimes in the beginning, but then I always come back around and I'm like, yo, and I'm cool, because like I'll remember that like that's how I'm supposed to be, and you don't get anywhere by being grumpy. It doesn't help any situations, and so I've always just found that like being jolly has like made me jollier.
Life hack.
I have to like, yeah, like I'm forcing it upon myself because I decided to make my BJ nickname that.
Man, that's awesome. A little personal branding life hack.
Yeah. I hope if any other new VJs are watching this, you come up with fun names like that.
Yeah, right. It's going to be the
biggest thing.
The new name trend. Happy Harry.
Yeah.
You talked a bit about, you know, you've done some like house VJ gigs for a festival where you're doing sets for a dozen artists in a day or something like that. You've gone on tour with specific artists where you're doing visuals for one guy, or maybe, you know, 2 or 3 of the artists just on a tour. And you've done some club shows where, you know, there's a different act coming in every weekend. What is your process for prepping for a show, and does it change depending on what type of show that you're doing?
I love that question. That's so exciting, because nothing changes. All I do is drag the clips in. I don't change a single thing on how I do my show. That's because my show is so built to be versatile. Like it'll work with anyone. And like I've done house, trance, bass, dubstep, rock, country, rap. I've done almost a lot of like all the genres except for like jazz. You know, they're too cool for me. But like I've always ran the same setup. Sometimes I'll eliminate effects so I don't press them on accident, like the big like EDM ones. You know, almost like the delay RGB. I'm like, I don't know if I need to be doing that right now. They're going into Sweet Home Alabama, and I'm like, delay RGB. You know, that might be a little crazy, but the biggest thing is I've always just dragged in clips. Like when I first met Drew Best, like at Forbidden Kingdom or whatever, and I was coming up for the BLUNTS show, and I had like just flown from San Francisco and like landed an hour before the show, and had none of the clips in my Resolume. And so I'm like standing there waiting for Kevin to be done with Slander's set. I'm sitting there and I'm just holding my laptop, dragging all the clips in. And like Drew's like, what the heck's this kid doing? And I'm just like, it's all good, don't worry, like it's gonna be a great show. And I'm just sitting there trying to drag stuff in 10 minutes before the show. And then I walk up, plug it in, intro sends, and I'm like, it's still dragging clips over the whole set. Like, and Drew's just sitting there like, what in the world? But it's just because like the effects and like my structure doesn't change. So I drag clips into the same place I drag clips in for any other artist. The only time my structure kind of changed was for MGK. Like that was when stuff got a little different, because it was a lot more. You know, I had 6 cameras. I was kind of directing. I was in ISOing cameras, and it was all more so. It wasn't about me as a visual artist anymore. It was about how can I do visuals to amplify this person as an artist. You know, because like I feel like as an EDM VJ, it's a lot more like it's like you and the DJ together, and it's like you guys are both creating something, because like most of it's freestyling and whatever. But with like Kayzo, it was like I'm here to amplify this person as a pop star, and it's like a lot more just camera stuff. And I would try to not do as many effects because I don't want people to be looking at the wall. I want them to be looking at him, you know. And so that was the biggest change for me ever, and where I ever had to like change my structure and like drag stuff and like create like song templates and had clips for like specific songs and like really had like, it was all organized, same show every day. And like that would build camera effects, never really got into that yet. That was cool. But yeah, my structure is what I've always done.
Along those lines, talking about process, talking about, you know, the actual mechanics of putting on a show. Can you talk a little bit about working with lighting and lasers and maybe cameras and other elements of a show? Like how you approach that, any lessons that you've learned over the years, or if there are any big lessons maybe over this last tour about, you know, building a complete show versus just like flashing screens at people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as an EDM DJ, it is like if you're traveling with that artist, you know, and it's kind of your show and you're kind of relying on the house people for lighting and lasers. Like if it's just like you're just the VJ and there's no other production people with you. I think the biggest thing is like being comfortable, like kind of knowing your show and like kind of talking to the laser and lighting guy right before the gig and being like coming up in front of house and being like, hey, like I'll call out some things, like if we can kind of do this on the intro. Like having a solid intro is always crucial, like big blackout, you know, the cinematic experience. And so I've always just I don't know. I think with EDM, it's kind of just like, I just kind of flow. Like, I don't think about it all too much. Like and with lighting, it's like, we've always just kind of like built sequences that look really cool. But there's like I was saying before, like there's no rhyme or reason. I think why I do a lot of these things, it's just kind of like, it looks badass and it's going to keep looking badass. And so let's just keep doing that. But there's sometimes like a lot of these, like a lot, especially with Kel's, like a lot of the camera effects that I made, like I never really dove into that too much. And he really wanted me to like push my boundaries and so I just started making stuff and it looked cool. And so I would save it as a preset, but I could never remake that preset because I don't even know how I made it in the first place. I was just pressing buttons and like, that's what I came out of it. And then I saved it and like, I don't know really, I guess just being comfortable is the biggest thing. That's like the biggest, like tip I could give someone is like being comfortable. Cause then you're not thinking about it. You're just doing what you know what to do. Like what your heart kind of tells you, like, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And being comfortable.
Like, it's all flowing. Like you have to be like, in order to create that magic, you have to just flow into that magic. Like you can't be thinking of all these guidelines and all these specific things in order to create those like ideas, because then you're going to be comparing yourself to other things. It's like, but there's no comparison to your creativeness. Like you shouldn't be like comparing that to anything. So with the lighting guy, like my lighting and laser guys that I've ever worked with have always been super cool. And we've always just kind of just made ideas like as we were going along, and they just kind of turned into what we all like our collective minds can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned like giving some direction if it's kind of your tour that you're very comfortable with. And I think it goes to the flip side. Like in my experience doing a lot of just more house gig type shit, being able to take direction or just let it, you know, if it is more of a collaborative thing where nobody knows what the fuck they're doing, then like when someone has an idea, shout it out, communicate, and then get everybody on the same page and go for it. Like, yeah, just being able to have that communication and comfort with those people, introduce yourself to those people, know their name, so you could shout something during the show and you have a little rapport and you're bouncing off each other. Makes for a fun show. I've gone to a few shows where I'm like a little bit nervous because I'm new or whatever. And, you know, I kind of clam up and just like in my own little zone. And, you know, nobody likes that guy because they're not paying attention to the rest of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely like, and there's like kind of like a euphoria, you know, too, to kind of just like not really planning some stuff and like creating amazing looks out of those things. Like one of my buddies, Aaron, we do Blunts and Blondes together. He's an LD. And every time we do a show together, it's just like, we don't plan anything. And we just hit looks. Like we just ride off Mike's wave and like he goes up and so lights up a blind. So like we hit a huge backlight silhouette and it's like, picture is like him all black smoking the blunt on stage. It's just a full silhouette, or like we'll just come into looks, but like that's how we are able to kind of do that. It's just us, just the show starts and then we have a little bit of an intro and then we just do whatever we think is going to be the best thing. And I think that, in my opinion, that's always the coolest thing. It's always the coolest look, is like the looks that like you make on accident at that one show. And it's like someone gets a video of it and it's like sick. I'm just like, that's so badass. And it's like neither of us planned either of those, but we both did exactly what the universe would have aligned for us, I guess, in that moment with all these other people. And we created that experience for those people, which is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Those little bits of serendipitous magic are what it's all about. I'm going to go back to the timeline a little bit. I think we left off kind of around Kayzo. You got the Kayzo gig, you're going on tour, and 2020 happens. For our industry, that was like probably one of the biggest what the fuck moments in history. How did that, like, what was going through your head in March 2020 when those shows were shutting down left and right, countries were shutting down, like, yeah. And then how did you kind of navigate that?
Well, it was horrible. It sucked, but I got really lucky. Kind of like with like my mental stability kind of staying stable because of what ended up happening with Kayzo, but I'll get into that. Like coming into COVID we had just finished EDC Mexico, and I was main stage EDC Mexico, so that was killer. That was my first time going out with EDM to another country, and then other than Canada, I think I've done Canada before. That was the first time going to Mexico. And that was awesome. And we went and did that, and then we were getting ready to do, and Kevin Mead, Slanders DJ, has always been an inspiration to me and now a good friend. And we were doing Slander back-to-back Kayzo at Ultra. That was like the first show that got canceled coming into COVID. And like, I was just sitting there. I remember buying a bunch of gear, like I took out a loan, like bought a bunch of gear and was like ready to do this tour. I was like, okay, like I'm signing my soul away to Kayzo, like let's ride. And then COVID happened, and that got canceled, and that was a heartbreaker, because like that would have been that like full circle experience for me from ages ago, like getting to work with the same caliber, I guess. And so then that got canceled, and then I was just kind of like had nothing to do, pretty broke, like getting ready to be homeless, and I was like, I was still dependent under my mom because I was younger, and so I didn't qualify for unemployment. I didn't qualify for anything. I got nothing the whole time, and so like I was like Uber Eatsing towards the end of it, but in the beginning, we got offered to go and do Ultra Taiwan and then Thailand like during the election. And so we went and did that, and we were gone for like 2 months, like a month and a half, because we had to quarantine for 2 weeks in both of those countries before the shows. And so that was an experience that kind of led me to be like, understand that like I'll be okay. Like coming like middle of COVID, I was like, okay, I'll be okay. And then I started doing like some live streams, like look shows, my bread and butter. And then I kind of just did that, and everything started to open back up, and I got offered MGK through Jason coming out of COVID, and now the rest is history.
Yeah, man. There is something about like that first show back that like brought hope back into your life, you know? For me, it was it was much later than that. I think it was like, I didn't do a show again until like this year, early this summer. But it was like, man, I think I cried a little bit. I was like,
oh yeah, dude, I was freaking crying in Taiwan. And I'm like, it was like, yeah, oh yeah. And it was like euphoric for me with my dad, you know, like being at this point and like being in Taiwan of all places, like beautiful country. Love that place. Literally want to live there. And it was just like doing this huge festival, you know, it was like with a bunch of people I've never met other than my Kayzo team, you know. It was like, I just thought like that was just insane during COVID. And then like someone told me like that day, they were like, yeah, you're the first VJ to do anything. And I'm like, holy shit, I did a record. I get his look, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. First VJ back.
Yeah, like that was crazy. I was like, just like that whole experience was when like the whole world kind of started to shift for me. It was like after Taiwan and Thailand, because it was like people started to take me more seriously. Like I was starting to take myself more seriously. And it's like, and I like solidified like who I was as a VJ, I guess. And then now it's all serious. Now this is all I do. I don't even play. I used to play video games. Like I don't even play video games anymore. Like me and freaking Wooli would play World of Warcraft together, and like I got no time for that, dude. I got shows to work on. You know what I mean?
Man, yeah. And wow, dude, that's a fucking. That'll take all the time you have.
That's a commitment, man.
I've been there, dude. Sucks. Oh man.
I was never good at the game either. I just like playing with my friends. Like I played with Alex Shambeck too, freaking Blunt Spawns' manager. I'm just exposing all of us as nerds right now. Sorry, boys. It's
all right. We all are. It's fine. We've all done it, whether you admit it or not.
Right.
That's a game. You can just fucking hang out in that game. You know, you don't have to do anything. You can just run around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. All the female viewers just left. We're fucking.
Dang it.
Now that it's just the guys here. What's your favorite World of Warcraft class? No.
Rogue, bro. You know the vibe.
Hell yeah.
Sneaky little boogers.
Oh,
what are we talking about?
I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know.
Oh no.
Here's a juicy one. Let's get into some story times here. Not really, but can you tell me a story about a time when shit hit the fan and how you dealt with it?
Sure. Never good. I've never dealt with a situation like that good, like a fucking code red. I'm really bad at that. That's one thing I'm real bad at. My head starts to explode. I start turning like Tasmanian devil, dude. It's crazy. But I guess like one code red moment I had on the MGK run. Like I don't generally have as much of those like on the EDM stuff, you know, because we got like the Screenworks guys, you know, they're always like all the techs that we generally run into are always top tier. And so like they're kind of there to help you out. But on the MGK run, it was me, and then I had two techs, but like we were coming up 5 minutes to show, and my whole Ethernet like time code line stopped working, and like we were trying to figure out what was wrong with it, and we were swapping out every cable, and like nothing was working. And I can't even remember like what actually ended up fixing it because I was so freaked out because I was getting ready to like live queue the whole show. Yeah. And like I don't have show control with Kayzo or anything. Like I can't see the Ableton rig. So I was like, I'm gonna just have to hear this. And some stuff is like really like has to be on. And I was like, oh dude, I'm screwed. I'm looking over at Jason. Jason's like, you're good, bud. And I'm like, I'm not good. Like I'm fucked. and I had someone helping me out. One of the lighting guys was helping me kind of figure out how to fix the situation, I guess, because we had already tried it, and it ended up being a bad dongle on the playback machine. Like we went through the entire like signal flow of everything, and literally it ended up being a bad dongle, and it was my dongle that I gave him. I was like, no freaking way. And like, so we swapped that out, like came into the show, like Kels was getting ready to go into the pill bottle, like as we got it going. So like we were like down to the wire, and like something like that would happen all the time. But I just freak out and hope someone else will help me out, because I'm just like I have so much stuff going on about the show. Like it's hard for me to text stuff at the same time, you know, because like I've got like I can't miss an intro. I can't do this, so it's like I'm sitting there ready to live queue it. So I generally like one of my texts or someone will come and help me out. But it's always hardware issues. I've never had a software issue. I think I've had Resolume crash on me once in my entire experience of using Resolume. Oh no, twice. It happened with you once too, I think. Oh, yeah. when we were at Beyond, I think, or whatever. Oh dude, that was scary. Dude, that was during like Shaq set, I think. It crashed on me and I had it back up in like 20 seconds. I was like, dang, bro, we out here. And it was like the perfect backup, bro. I was lucky. But
yeah, as long as it crashes on a blackout, you're good to go.
Yeah,
it's fine.
You know? But
lasers, go.
Yeah, I've always like, I'm never really good. I'm to be completely honest, I'm never really good at handling those situations. I'm not like where I freak out like crazy, but it's like I generally like I know that I will freak out crazy, so I try to not stress out about it. If that makes any sense. And I try to kind of just like pass the info on and like get some help from my text and stuff, I guess, because there's so much creatively that's happening with me in the computer that it's like hard for me to go on and do that. And plus it's like I can't just leave front of house, you know. And I've only had code reds like coming up into like first 2 minutes of show. I've had like 4 or 5 of them, and but then the rest of my experience like as a VJ, I've never ran into anything else. I run into issues like during setup and shit. And like, that's all like, but you're not stressed out then. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've never really had anything crazy happen other than like my computer's like breaking or something. Like my computer exploded at UDC once, like lit on fire. It was awesome. It was so lit. I was running like this super small computer, dude. And it was just cooking. It was daytime. And like the sun, like, I don't know, it was something with like the window out front of house, and like it like shot through and like burnt a fucking hole, and then it was like lighting on fire while the show was going on, and we were just kind of doing this. But like they just kept running. Like I guess I don't know. It was awesome. Like it's no, you're doing shit lighting on fire. I'm like, dude, we're really doing this right now.
It kept going.
Really hit.
You made it through the show.
Oh yeah. you know those little like those little circular fans, like the floor blowers or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
That was totally the wrong word for them. But I put one of those underneath it, like literally underneath it. Oh yeah, those things will make it. It was like a Lenovo, dude. I swear.
That's awesome.
It was like a cheap little computer.
There's no way you have a video of that, do you?
I might. I'll see if I can find it.
We'll look for that later.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. And also story time here. Is there something you can think of, like how have you grown as an artist recently? Is there a story or a lesson that you can share related to that?
How I've grown as an artist? Yeah, there definitely is. There's like multiple different kind of stories that kind of all accumulate together, and they all kind of happened at the same time, I guess. Like I've been working with BLUNTS kind of since the beginning. Me and Alex and Mike have all been really like, we kind of started off as like kind of came into them as a VJ and then kind of became friends, and I kind of left a little bit and started doing my own thing, but still involved, like still homies. But then now I just came back in kind of more full time with them as like his creative designer, like his kind of like get his brain into my head, and then I can make it a reality with like Drew and everyone. We just had Imminent make our last pack, which was awesome. And so like that's like definitely where I've grown creatively, because I'm actually using my brain to kind of come up with more ideas, you know, like real ideas before they come into Resolume. It's been like kind of like a big like point for me. Like that's like one of my big achievements, is to kind of be building with them and have them kind of see me and respect me, I guess, like as a VJ, and like as a creative and like kind of bring me onto the team more like wholeheartedly. And that's been big for me. And then another point off of that is when I was with Kels, we went into like creative rehearsals before regular rehearsals, and we had Scott Holhouse and Leif Dixon from the Chili Peppers. They're like, they're designers and programmers. They were there, and they kind of had a plan for what they were going to do for the show, but just run MGK's show on Catalyst, you know? And I kind of came in off of the gig that we did. I think it was Beyond.
Yeah.
And I went from that and went into the rehearsals like with all my Resolume gear ready to go, you know? And they kind of told me that. And I was just like, respectfully was like, I don't know if this is going to work, guys. Like, what the fuck is Catalyst? You know, like I was like, I don't know what that is, because like I really didn't. And they kind of showed me what it was. It's honestly a really cool software. It all runs it's old school, but it works. Like, and so, but they kind of saw me what I did with Resolume, and I kind of started making some content for Kels' show with an artist there, and then me myself, and we just started coming up with stuff, and I would just like mix it live and like record it to the song, and like that would be the time code clip with some of the stuff. Like I would just like mix it, and he was like, "What?" Like Scott didn't really. They didn't really know Resolume, and so he just kind of saw what I was doing and kind of just gave me the reins and was like, "I'm just gonna let you kind of do it, and just come to me for like the thumbs up of approval or the thumbs down," you know." And there was a bunch of thumbs downs and a couple of thumbs up, and that kind of just showed me, like, having legendary people like that kind of working with me, kind of giving me the opportunity to like do what I do was crazy for me, because like I didn't even realize that like until then, like what I do is like actually like pretty crazy sometimes. You know, like I didn't realize it until I had those people like just like letting me do it, because it's like kind of was their job, you know, as a creative to like kind of be more in charge of that, but they kind of like delegated it to me, and which was just amazing. It was an opportunity to stressful, you know. This is also now it's like my responsibility. Like if Kels does the life stuff, it's like I'm getting yelled at for sure. You know what I mean? It's like that looks like shit. And I'm like, damn, it does. But it was like it was just that was a crazy experience. And then it led on to me being able to like start working with Scott and them. Now it's like I made a couple clips for the Offspring for their previous tour that they did in Europe for 2 of their songs, and been doing some work with them with the Chili Peppers, just kind of with the design of their upcoming stuff. And that's just been insane. Like that's like, I remember listening to the Chili Peppers with my dad, like on the way to school, you know, like middle school. Like these guys have been touring since before I was even born. And like, it's kind of opened my eyes up to like, okay, like I've actually got some shit that I have to like live up to now, I guess. Like I've got a purpose. And like I see beautiful things happening in like the next 5 to 10 years, like with me creatively and with the artists that I will have the ability to work with, and that is exciting. You know, it's like I remember looking at like Tobias Rylander from the 1975 and like being like, dude, that is the craziest stage ever. Like that's the coolest fucking masterpiece and the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it's like, now I'm kind of getting the opportunity to kind of do stuff like that. And that's insane. And like, that's just fucking tight. Like, I don't even know what to think about it. It's just like, but I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. It's fucking cool, man. All right, let's go into a quick little rapid fire section. A little bit of this or that type thing, and then
red, oranges, USB cable, marijuana, lots of marijuana.
Oh man, it doesn't even need me.
Circles.
Yeah, it's interviewing himself. Favorite resolution. All right.
4K. Yo, one thing that is awesome, actually funny freaking joke. Everywhere I go, it's so funny. Everyone always looks at my computer. They're like, "How do you read any of that?" And I'm like, dude, I don't. Because my resolution is always in 4K, like maximum zoom down. My letters are like literally like this big, and I'm just like, dude, I don't read them. And what I do, I just have to like get really close. But it allows you to get a bunch of little tiny squares. Pro tip: 4K screen on your main computer, little tiny squares. You can fit a lot of stuff on your screen.
You just can't look at what it is because it's too small.
Yeah, you just gotta know what's in those cues.
Hell yeah. Pro tip. Man, yeah, I have a problem with that because I'm like, I have to be like this far away from the screen to read anything. All right. All right. Rapid fire. This is, I don't even know why I asked this question because everybody says the same thing, but what is your favorite VJ software or media server software?
Oh, well, then I gotta say something else, bro. I got some sauce. I don't just use Resolume, which is my favorite VJ software. But no, I mean I love Synesthesia. Synesthesia is one of my favorite softwares. It's just like an audio generative software, and you siphon Resolume content into it, and then you push it back out, and it molds the content to do stuff in real time. And then I also just started using this thing called Nest Drop. And Nest Drop is badass. It's just like the way that the clips work is like it has like the palettes have like their own look. And so you can bring the clip up, like a clip up from Resolume in full, and you can pull that out. And if it's pulling from Nest, it'll like melt the clip into like a waterfall sometimes, or like different looks, or like it'll like pull the content into the look, and then the content will like disappear behind the look, but the look will be like, it's not like two different clips. It's like that clip turned into this clip and it's all opacity based. So it's like I come in on the snare with the clip, and it's got like color gradient that matches the palette, and I pull it out and it turns into like a fucking portal. And I can just do that with the beat, but then it's also audio reactive. So like the like portal like shakes and shit. It's like, but it's like I'm doing like 5 fader strokes, and it's like, and like you create that look, and that Resolume isn't my favorite software. Resolume with those two softwares is my favorite software.
There we go.
And the reason why I run a 4K screen is because I have all 3 of them on one screen.
Yeah, you gotta need that screen real estate, running all that. Fuck. What is your MIDI controller?
It depends. With Kels, I run 2 APCs, Mark IIs, and then a MIDI fighter and a twister. And then with EDM, I just run 1 APC and then the MIDI fighter and the twister, because people would get angry if I tried to bring a whole extra APC out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'd be like, I need an entire 6-foot table.
Table space is a premium. Man, and it's always such a fucking battle to get even half a table for a VJ.
Oh yeah.
So you gotta do what you can.
I got crazy setups sometimes, man. I've stacked stuff on top of each other, put like my MacBook on top of my Resolume rig, and like turn the keyboard off, and like just put them on top of each other, like side by side. And it's like I got my Resolume rig, and then I have the show control like literally right next to it. It's like a little like this, and they're just stacked on top of each other. Because I'm like, I have no room, dude.
Man,
there's some nutty setups.
That's wild. I'm gonna need to get some of those, some like setup pics, like random shit stacked.
I got you.
I'll
do a crazy one at Wobble Land this weekend.
Yeah.
Just because. I like bringing like a little Jenga tower.
Just for the pic. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you spilled a couple of them, but is there a JollyJosh secret weapon or trick or plug-in or something that's that you'd be willing to reveal?
Yeah, I kind of did. It was like Sin and Nest Drop. They're kind of like my sauce. Like, and a lot of people use them. Like, it's nothing crazy. It's just like, I don't know. Like the way I use them is very like specific. Like a lot of people use them as like a texture, but I still hit them like on beats and stuff. And like that's one thing I don't generally see a lot of is like the alternation between all the softwares running at the same time and people like moving their hands to make it do all these things. But yeah, Nest Drop was kind of like, I kind of shouldn't have even said that because there's only so many palettes, bro. I'm gonna start seeing those palettes. I'll be like, shoot.
Yeah, right. We'll bleep it out. It's all good.
There we go, dude. That'd be legit.
You got to keep something secret.
Not like I love Notch. Touch Designer is also great software. Like, it's just like if I had the table space, I'd bring more stuff out. And the artists who wanted to check these many pelicans, but you know, right. Like no artist ever wants to bring more than like one or maybe two. Even two is always pushing it. But that luckily, dude, Delta always hooks it up. Promo on Delta right there, everybody.
Nice. Sponsor us, please.
I love Delta. But Touch Designer has always like been an awesome software to use, kind of like bring all of those things together, you know, because I'm always running those 3 different softwares. And so I'll siphon everything into them, and then I siphon them back into Resolume as a master layer. And Touch Designer kind of helps, like you can kind of rudiment that a little bit cleaner, like in like the single flow, and then you can push stuff in different directions. Wires kind of doing that too. Kind of has the ability to kind of create some better things. Wires, something I've kind of tried to dive into. It just takes up a lot of CPU space when you try to make like really big setups. You're like, I can have 20 nodes, and then you're like, oh no, my computer's about to explode.
Yeah, and node spaghetti can get heavy sometimes. Yeah, is there a within Resolume, do you have a favorite effect or generator?
Yes, actually. One thing that I live by, I forget who showed me it, but it's one thing that I live by. I gave it the effect to Kevin from Slander once, and now they use it all the time. It's my favorite thing. It's a big pink button on his MIDI keyboard. It says Jolly's button. And it's a backline strobe. So it's like, that's what I call it. I don't know if that's really what it would be, but it'd be like a solid white strobe. And then you put the opacity, and you make the opacity go from 100 to 0 and like you set the MIDI button as a value of 100. And so it automates itself. I usually set the speed to like 5. So every time you press it, it'll automate itself to go from 100 to 0. And so when you're mixing, you can be mixing into a bunch of stuff, and then a random, like he could just mix out of a track out of nowhere, like halfway through or something on accident. And then you just go boom and smack that. And then you can pull everything out, and it'll hit a big white light, and it'll pull itself out. Mm. That's one effect that I've lived by, because like I'm sometimes I'm mixing so fast. It's like I won't have enough time to know where we're at, if that makes sense. Cause I'm just like going and then I know stuff's coming. And so I just come and I just smack that with my pinky or something, and it'll big white, pull everything out. And then I can go straight into the next, like if it's a down tempo, I can go into like a slower clip and go straight out of whatever mayhem I was just unleashing.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Simple, but useful.
Yeah. That's been the best one.
Is there?
I also run all of my layer transition or like layer blending modes all on difference, or on Resolume 7, or Resolume 7 is difference. Resolume 6 is difference inverted. So like when you mix the clips, it like they mix like they like highlight the colors opposite of what they're mixing together. So like if you blend 2 clips together, I feel like difference is always like looked the cleanest. Like if you're like, because I can mix like 2 time clips together and it'll still look cool, because it's like, I don't know.
Nice.
It looks cool. That's all I know.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I feel like that's potentially underused. People need to fuck around with blend modes more. Yeah,
I see a lot of people just be having ad or like alpha, and I'm like, nah, because I'll mix a clip and then I'll like sprinkle a little bit of sauce over the top, you know. And the difference just like creates a sparkle, because like you can drop like confetti over the top of a clip, but all the confettis will be like highlighted because it's the difference mode. You know what I mean? Like confetti exploding on the screen while confetti is exploding on the stage, and it's like boom, 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 boom. Holy shit! There's the moment.
Love it. Is there a, let's see, is there like a must-have piece of gear in your Pelican, or some like?
Yes. Ready? Pelican, amazing.
We got it.
Slippery is the most important piece in the Peli. This is my seal. His name's Slippery, and he is an absolute legend. Like he's been to like 8 countries, been to every state in the U.S. except Alaska. And I got him at Bonnaroo. It's just like a little stuffed animal, always keeps me grounded. And he's cute. Look at him.
Hell yeah. Love it.
But you'll always see him like on my computer at front of house. Like he's always there. And I don't know, it's just like it's made it like more fun. It's like it still work, but like gives my brain the space to like separate it. You know, because it's like just something fun like this. It's like I pull this out in front of house and everyone's like, what the heck? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? It's like I'm having fun.
Hell yeah. I started at, I think at EDC this year. I was at Wasteland stage. It was so fucking dark up there. I needed some lights. So I started bringing the lava lamp. I went to Walmart to get a light, and that was like the only lamp that they had. So I started bringing the lava lamp to shows, and it has a similar effect on me. It like helps me calm down. It's kind of, it makes me smile. I think it's fun. Gives front of house a vibe. And, you know, people kind of see it, smile, laugh, gets you talking to people. Like, I like that. You got to kind of decorate your office a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it just creates a comfy, like I have a little orange light that I have now too. Like it just creates it also for like going back to like the lighting and laser guy. It's like, you're just like, if you're there having fun, it's like, they're going to want to have fun with you. Sometimes you'll walk up and a house guy's like not the nicest guy, but like I try to leave with him smiling and I had a great time. You know, I try to let them kind of do their thing with some guidelines, but like it's their show too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Especially with house people. But like, if you can kind of create that experience, like where it's like, yeah, like I'm serious about what I'm doing, but like, it's also like, it's not that serious. Like the show's going to go on, the show's going to be good. And like, let's just fucking have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, now I have upgraded, like, this is my fucking stoner turtle. This is fucking Slippery. And then fucking my little duck, little rubber ducky. And they all live in this valley.
Love it.
Cozy.
Oh man, that's amazing. I definitely need more front of house friends. I'm inspired.
That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. I don't know why nobody's listening to me out here. It's like, I ain't crazy. Maybe I am a little bit, but
it's good crazy. Is there what musical artist are you listening to right now? Or that everyone should know about?
Ooh. In dubstep world, Felmax. Felmax is legit. He's a dubstep guy. He's got some stuff on Subsidia. Does some stuff did a tour with Five Finger Death Punch. You know, I was like their opening DJ. That's tight. But his tracks are cranking. Great production. Him and Cultivate. They're both like my two like favorite dubstep artists. Like their tunes are just like, I don't know why. Like, no, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my Wooloo and I love everyone, but it's just like, those are like friends of mine from Florida. And like, we've just been connected forever. And so it's like, and it's just hearing their music, like evolve has been an experience, and like seeing them get some of the recognition that they deserve has been awesome.
Hell yeah. What about a visual artist of any type?
Ooh. I love Sandy's shows. You just did an interview with her. Her shows are always cool. The Millennium shows. I love those. That was a cool interview to watch. Kevin's always been been a goat from Slander. I love their shows. Their shows are so unique, and it's always kind of like upsetting because like they capitalize on like the anime market, and so now no other DJs can like rip anime because it's like that's slander. You know what I'm saying? And I hate that because I've been wanting to do anime like crazy, and I'm just like everything I find and like everything I kind of like gather up and try and make or whatever. It's like it's just like I'm just like, yeah, this looks like freaking superhuman. You know, and I'm just like, damn it. And but like those two have always been really cool. Brady from Excision is formerly from Excision or whatever is
who knows anymore.
Yeah, he's just the fucking goat, and he's always been someone who's like where I'm like, damn, like this dude just like knows everything. Like he used to walk up to me and like he'd just like be like, dude, this is wrong, like. And I'm like, can you fix it? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? But I mean, I love all of them. Like Colin, everyone, like Liquid Strangers VJ. Like, yeah, there's so many. I don't really have a favorite VJ. I think we're all the ones that are kind of at this caliber right now are all awesome. Freaking Sean Bowes, legend. You know what I'm saying? Eddie,
that dude sucks.
Awesome. Jake, great. Matt Black, freaking T-Bot, everybody. Like, there's just so many big VJs. Eric Pritz's guy's pretty wild. The 3D stuff.
Yeah, fun.
I don't know. I love it all. I have no specific one that's my favorite. I have the ones that have been influential to me more so. Like I was like they like which is like Sandy and Kevin and like and Brady and Matt Medwid who's doing Excision now. He's a fucking sick human being. Dude's crazy. He drops the Shrek visuals. Goat.
I did see it though, so it's funny.
Yeah. So great. Yeah, there's so many. God, so many friends. Like now they're all just like friends. And so it's like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like I just started doing this shit, dude. Like I feel like it's so crazy to like have these people. Like I'm just like naming off all these people, and all of those, almost all of them were like people I was looking up to like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I want to be like those people. And now it's just like now we're all just fucking out here doing it. And it's so fun. It's cool.
Hell yeah. Is there a book or TV show or a movie or a podcast or something you would recommend to people that you've seen recently?
Harry Potter.
What is that?
What do you mean?
Underground
Harry
shit.
Potter. No.
Harry Potter all day. That is probably the last book I read, to be honest.
So amazing. So amazing. No, I would say I mean watching stuff like this, watching depending on what you want to do, like if you want to be a lighting guy, Christian Jackson has some YouTube videos that are freaking killer and kind of teach you from the ground up. You know, I watched all of Christian's stuff. Just actually met him a little while ago, which is crazy. I was like fangirling. I was like, nice to meet you, bro. You know, all stuttering and shit. And it's yeah, I don't know. I never really watched a whole lot of videos. So like I said, I just downloaded it. And that's the best video that you can get because it's your videos.
Hell yeah.
Damn, that was deep. That was pretty wild. My own mind.
Yeah, dang. Well, let's leave this off with some words for the people of the internet. What's that like one piece of advice or something you would say to somebody who wants to get into this field or maybe is starting out and what's that one most important thing they can think about or do that might help them be successful?
When you get into it, don't, especially as like this, as an artist for other artists, don't go into it thinking it's about you at all. You know, it's not about you. And in order to excel, I feel like, and be up at this caliber is understanding that it's like your art's about you, but you're doing this for these artists. And it's like, you're able to amplify this experience for these people. And when you kind of take yourself out of the equation and like picture and fully embody like these artists, like as they're creative, it takes away from any of the ego. It takes away from anything. Like you're not competing with anything. It's just you and him. And it's like, you're creating something and this is what you want to give to the fans, and that has been able to where like, cause that's made it easier for me. Cause like a lot of artists, they kind of need that, like they need someone who's just kind of there, like to do what they need to do. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't know.
No, I think that was really good. Yeah. Where can
that felt inspirational.
Yeah. If people want to like find out more about you, see your work, get in touch with you, where can they find you on the internet?
My Instagram is JollyJosh Visuals. That's probably the best. I don't have a website or anything. I'm kind of lame. I got an Instagram and that's all I got. So,
I mean, it seems like all you need, man.
Yeah.
You're crushing it out there. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a fucking awesome time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was, we were talking, I remember us talking about this in the car and you were telling me about all this. And I was like, dude, that'd be sick. He was like, yeah, you want to do one? I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like, it's an honor to be asked to do an interview. It's an honor to be held at the same caliber as all these other amazing artists and DJs, and it's just great being able to do this and have these experiences and meet awesome people like you and everyone else in the scene. And yeah, and now we got a whole another year to do it.
Hell yeah.
And then a year after that, we ain't gonna freaking stop.
Hell yeah, man. Awesome.